What's going on, everybody? What's going on? It is Sunday, December 29th, 2024, and we are back with another midday stream here on the Torian Rain Reloaded channel. Now, usually I would never do a midday stream on a Sunday, and if I do, it's typically the True Crime Sunday, but it won't be another one of those until the next Sunday, which will be the 5th, the first True Crime Sunday of 2025. But I had to get this one out because I have so many other lives that I have that's going to be happening this week. And I said, let me just go ahead and get this one out the way. But we will be addressing again Malika Andrews. I think this might be the third time this year I've talked about her. I think she's been in the Blackaren Hall of Shame once before, so I believe this will be her second entry, where she's finally addressing the criticism of her about the things that she says about black male athletes, especially black male basketball players. Before we get into all of that, if you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you are new. And if you are new to the channel, hit the bell twice to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. And before I also get into everything, let me shout out those who are here so far. So we got Ace X777 in the building, the Crooks Process, Neo Panther, the Crusher 9342, Wallow J, Stolen Ancestors 1526, Barbara Johnson, me again, RDRD, SD Johnson 857, Jerry Bedford, Reparations Nations, Charles Jameson, Barry Little, Robert Brown, Miss Decatur, Miss Nisi, Bonafide Hustler, Dewani, Tamika's Den, Bills Fan 1970, Ricky Ross, Rokamuro, and DeMarcus Vaughn are in here so far. Now, when I first heard about Malika Andrews, I forgot who brought her to my attention, and they was asking me, Torrin, have I ever heard of Malika Andrews? I said, no, I haven't heard of her. Who is she? And is it someone I should be aware of? And they said, well, she's on ESPN, and she's sort of like Sage Steele. When they said that, I immediately was like, really? As if we need another one of those floating around here. Sage is as bad as they come. And now you have someone out there that's another version of her, that's a younger version of her. And that would definitely be Malika Andrews. Also, shout out to Cage that just came in here. Black Jack also just came in here as well. But yeah, Malika Andrews. This woman right here is a piece of work. But she sat down recently with DeMar DeRozan on his show, I guess on his podcast, and she finally addressed the criticisms that she has received over the years. Now, notice it says over the years, not over the weeks, not over the days, not over the months, but over the years, about her take when it comes to black men in the NBA. So we're going to go through this article on this website called Awful Announcing, and it's a reason because they actually have a clip. Well, they have the full interview, but they started at the point where DeMar asked her the question addressing the main topic of discussion, and I want y'all to hear from her mouth what she says. So it says Malika Andrews on criticism over coverage of black NBA stars, and she's quoted as saying, "It's just untrue and it's just unkind." Well, we'll see how untrue and unkind it is. It says Andrews stood her ground over years of criticism toward her coverage of black NBA athletes like Brandon Miller. Even by the standards of a league driven by internet nonsense, the narratives among NBA fans online regarding ESPN studio host Malika Andrews have gotten out of hand, starting with an on-air argument with Stephen A. Smith on First Take regarding the dismissal of Ime Udoka as Boston Celtics head coach in 2022 for an extramarital affair with the female team staffer. Controversy has followed Andrews through her coverage of nearly every major off-court scandal in the NBA. Since then, whether it was Andrews' focus on 2023 number 2 NBA draft pick Brandon Miller's involvement in a shooting, or that she apparently did not focus enough on the alleged sexual indiscretions of Chicago Bulls forward Josh Giddey last season, Andrew has found it hard to please hoops fans. The end result, reinforced by random parties like former Dallas Cowboy receiver Dez Bryant, is a perception that Andrews is biased in her coverage of black players and their off-court issues. The host of NBA Today and NBA Countdown addressed those accusations in a recent episode of Dinners with DeMar, a mental health YouTube show hosted by outspoken advocate and NBA All-Star DeMar DeRozan. It says that, I'm not even going to read the quote because I'm going to let the video play. It says, Andrews comes from a mixed-race family and recently married white ESPN reporter Dave McNiminen. The most hateful and parasocial viewers in Andrews' online mentions likely use the racial background of her family to make their case about the bias that they allege. It's not even just that. It's just that the woman's just off code. And there's receipts to back that up. While revolted by that mentality, Andrews didn't shield herself from accountability. So I'm gonna play. This is the clip right here. But before I do that, because I didn't download it, let me go ahead and play the disclaimer before we get into it. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it.
I feel like it's a lose-lose in a sense.
I mean, I hope that, I try very hard to make it so that the things that I've experienced, I try to keep that in mind when I'm talking about players, right? I try to have that empathy
for sure
and understand that I have a job to do, but also understand, I'm not here to play gotcha. I say you've heard me say this before. I always say, I want to be two things. I want to be accurate and I want to be fair.
For sure.
She says she wants to be accurate and she wants to be fair. Keep that in mind because there's been some things she has said that has not been fair, nor has it been accurate. And we've talked about this before on this channel. We went through it. And I'm going to go and bring some of that stuff back up to the forefront because some people might have forgotten because it happened maybe 2 years ago. So just keep that in mind. And also, she also said before then that she has a job to do. What did I title this? Malika was, quote unquote, just doing her job. And you're right, Robert Brown. She did leave Josh Giddey unscathed because when that happened, everybody was honed in on Malika. So Malika, what you going to talk about this? That woman never said one. You know what? I take that back. She did say something, but it was so passive. And when she said that, it wasn't scathing like anything else she said about those black athletes. She said it one time, and it sounded like she was rushing to get it over with and move right on to the next thing, and she never harped on it again.
Yep.
And if I'm not one of those two things, you might not always like me, but this is my number. Please call me. And people have called, and they've said that. And I say that oftentimes to before, especially before I'm talking to folks about something that is sensitive or tough because these things come up. Mm-hmm. And it is hurtful. I think that's okay to say sometimes. And it hurts. Yeah. Even it doesn't matter if it is someone who is credible or someone with a big platform, or if it's someone in their mom's basement just firing off.
Well, Malika, how do you think the people that you talk about in the tone that you do, how do you think they feel? And like I said, we're going to go through the stuff that she said because I have clips and I got articles. See, now she wants to play poor little innocent victim as if she did not have a huge hand into why people are criticizing her. She has to know that nobody's coming at her the way that they're coming at her just because they want to. It's a reason. They've noticed a pattern with her behavior, and it's very eerily similar to Sage Steele, and they came at Sage the same exact way. And like somebody said in the chat, they said that Malika is the more liberal version of Sage Steele. And what have I told y'all about them birds and them buzzards? Left wing, right wing, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, two wings attached to the same buzzard. So Malika and Sage Steele, while their ideology might be different, one thing they do have in common is their anti-blackness, especially when it comes to black men. Now, Sage definitely takes it a whole step further because it seems Malika's it seems to be geared towards only going after black men. Sage Steele, she wants nothing to do with black people at all. RD said, who was this lady? This is Malika Andrews. I've talked about her before over the past year. She's like Sage Steele. She's not as aggressive as Sage Steele, but she's like her, and that's not a good thing.
A post. Sometimes it is hurtful when that seeps through, particularly for me when
Neo Panther, you said you keep getting super chat errors. Yeah, try refreshing the page. And if you're trying to do a super chat off of your phone, for some reason, I don't know why they don't go through. Because even when I try to send super chats through my phone, they never go through. I don't know if that's an error on YouTube side or what, but if you're doing it on your phone, it probably won't work. So if you're trying to send one, you would have to do it from like a laptop or a computer.
But it's not true.
Right.
And that's been the hardest part for me sometimes is stomaching the falsehoods, particularly, you know, this you hate black men, or think that couldn't be farther from the truth, and using my family or the way that my family looks as some sort of evidence of that. And that is just untrue.
For sure.
And it's just unkind. And, you know, we all have jobs to do, and we do our best. I try to do my best to show up every day.
She has a job to do, y'all. Like I said, she's quote unquote just doing her job. Okay, Ms. Neese, I send super chats on my phone all the time. And okay, you didn't have to rub it in. I think I just gave away my position. Yes, I have an iPhone. I don't know for some reason it doesn't go through. I don't know why. And it could be on anybody's page who I'm trying to send a super chat to on my phone, but it just never goes through. And I said, you know what? F it. If I get to a computer in time, by the time they're still live, I'll send it that way.
In a way that you guys know what I'm about. And that doesn't mean that I've covered every story perfectly. It doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes, but I think I'm pretty good at saying to you guys in particular, could have been better there.
No question.
Okay, so I'm not going to go any further into that because y'all pretty much get it. I don't want to play too much. I just wanted to get that part of it because, like I said, this is only a few minutes of a hour-long interview. We're clearly not here to play the entire thing. I just wanted to get to that part right there. So, yeah, she's doing the whole victimhood thing to make it seem like we are wrong for coming at her with the vitriol we have, to make it seem like we're just picking on her or we're bullying her. No one's doing that. It's because we want you to be held accountable for the stuff that you have said. And even if you know what, I'm going to wait. I'm going to save that. I'm going to wait until I get to that point. It says, earlier this year, Andrews revealed the depths of her struggle with mental illness. Here we go. In a profile in People magazine, the former New York Times and Chicago Tribune reporter struggled with disordered eating and self-harm as a young child while dealing with a depression, where she told people she attributed to living as a black girl in a predominantly white Bay Area. Listen to this one. Living as a black girl in a predominantly white Bay Area community. Now, for those of y'all who are unaware, Malika Andrews is the product of a black father and a white mother. I can't wait till I get to the last thing I have to show y'all as it pertains to this story here. Is that she spent time at numerous outpatient treatment centers and boarding schools. Andrews told DeRozan she tries to use her lived experience to do her job well, rather than dwelling on the negative aspersions that come with it through fan vitriol. I try very hard to make it so that the things that I've experienced, I try to keep that in mind when I'm talking about the players. I have to try that empathy and understand that I have a job to do, but also understand that I'm not here to play gotcha. I say that oftentimes, especially before I'm talking to folks about things that are sensitive or tough, because these things come up and it is hurtful. And then I think that it is okay to say sometimes, particularly for me, when it is not true. Given the challenges Andrews faced growing up and the rhetoric around her career already, her perspective is pretty unique. And rather than spurn NBA fans to let the negativity take over, Malika Andrews continues to climb the ladder at ESPN and be transparent about her approach to covering the NBA for the worldwide leader. So that's that part right there. So now that she said all of that, let's take a trip back, y'all. We're going to go through some things to actually show why people have come at Malika Andrews the way that they have and why they pretty much are okay in their journey to do so. But before we get into that, let me acknowledge these super chats. Shout out to Ozzy for the 5. He said, that's not what I'm all about, my ass. I appreciate it. And shout out to Live from NYC for the 5. They said, I think ESPN keeps her for drama purposes. ESPN has been slowly turning into a lame morning show podcast type of network. Exactly. I don't even entertain ESPN. I'm going to be honest with you. So let's get into this part right here. Let's go to this first article here. So we have this one posted back in September of 2022, so over 2 years ago. ESPN tensions flare between Malika Andrews, Stephen A. Smith, another bootlick, another corporate shill, over the Ime Udoka scandal, which we all know that was the former head coach of the Boston Celtics, and it was talking about the affair he was having with one of the one of the staffers. Stephen A. Smith and Malika Andrews had a tense back and forth over the Ime Udoka scandal on First Take. The ESPN talents would eventually land the plane in the segment, but it started with barbs furiously being tossed by both sides. Andrews, the 27-year-old host of NBA Today, called into the show after the Celtics held a press conference on Udoka. If I could first start with this. Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop, Andrews said. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all the information here. It was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So, Ms. Renee says she was 27 at the time when she at this time. So she's like 29 now. This was 2 years ago. So this was the part right here that a lot of people was upset with Malika about, because Ime Udoka, as you all know, he's a black man. He's not a black American, but he is a black man. The staffer he was messing with was a white woman. And Malika tried to give cover to the staffer who was doing this with Ime Udoka. Keep this in mind. This was when Ime Udoka was engaged to Nia Long. And when the staffer was married to whoever the person was, as some higher up, I think they might still be married. But Ime Udoka faced all the backlash. They tried to make it seem like this dude took advantage of this woman. No, this was a consensual affair that both of them were having. But the way Malika Andrews tried to frame it, she made it seem like Ime Udoka was all the way in the wrong, and that the staffer that he was messing with was so innocent. That was the one thing right there. And the thing is, even though I'm reading this because I don't have the video, you should have heard the tone that Malika Andrews was speaking in. She was practically yelling into that phone with such vitriolic tone towards Stephen A. Smith. Like, for those of y'all in the chat who heard it, y'all remember how she sounded. She was yelling through the phone like she was trying to discipline a child for doing something wrong. Andrew said it stood out to her that Brad Stevens was upset with rampant Twitter BS that was hurled at women in the Celtics organization on social media this week, and that she found the speculation about women thought to have an affair with Udoka was gross and unnecessary. She criticized the Celtics for not giving more details on Udoka's infractions in the press conference. So she just told you right here, she's willing to give this woman who engaged in a consensual affair, an extramarital affair with this man, a pass, but she was willing to throw all of it on Ime Udoka like he was the one that extended it forward, and it wasn't a consensual thing. Exactly, Ozzy, and I can't believe we said it. You said it, but yeah, Stephen A. Smith, I know hell has frozen over somewhere. He actually did check her live on the air. I wish I had the clip so y'all could, you know what? Oh, look, y'all, we're in luck. We found it. We found it. So now y'all can actually hear it. Let me go ahead and increase and expand this. Listen to how she's going to sound. Listen to how she's going to talk.
Molly, thank you. If I could first start with this. Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what
okay, so it's more to it, but that's what. Listen to how she was talking. That's what she said. I read it, but now y'all could hear it for yourself. What she said over that phone. She was willing to give a pass to this woman, again, who should not have been doing what she was doing. But she said Malika took it all out on Ime Udoka and made it seem like he was the only villain in this situation, when this was a two-way street situation going on between the both of them. The same way she went at Ime Udoka, she should have went at that staffer, but she didn't do it. And yes, if y'all want to know, the staffer that Ime Udoka was messing around with was a white woman. Go figure. She goes on to say the fact is it was able to go on all day. The fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should be suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. And like someone said, this was like an act like feminism. I think that was Reparations Nation. Look at this. Let me say that again. We are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here. The 54-year-old Smith responded, first of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. Now, this is Stephen A. replying to her. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized, the point that I'm trying to make. And then she interrupts. Excuse me, he said, I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. Now, keep in mind, Malika Andrews called in. She's not there. She's not in the studio. It's almost like the equivalent of someone calling into a radio station to answer a question or discuss further the topic at hand. He says, I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening, okay? That's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired or to be there and for them to handle it privately. If you're not going to handle it privately to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, who are the parties involved? The crux of the misunderstanding involves what has been reported by ESPN and what has been reported elsewhere. ESPN, Adreian, I can't pronounce this person's last name, but I'm going to say Adreian W., has reported that Udoka conducted a consensual affair with a woman in the organization. Shams Charania reported in The Athletic that Udoka was also accused of making quote-unquote unwanted comments towards the woman. ESPN has yet to report details about those allegations in similar situations in the past. ESPN PR has said that they will not rely on the reporting of other news organizations involving sensitive information. Smith's commentary on First Take Thursday and Friday has stemmed from the reporting that Udoka had a consensual affair. He has not excused Udoka and has reportedly said that the coach made an error in judgment, but at the same time, he also said that workplace affairs happen all over the professional sports and has brought up an alleged imbalance in how it is handled for people who are black like Udoka versus white. I'm just going to kind of skip around a little bit. It says, considering how pervasive this stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, Smith said to Andrews, many consensual affairs. My whole point is that make sure you handle it in the same fashion that it's always been handled. You could have fired him, then we could have speculated until the cows come home, but he's gone. But to keep him there, but suspend him for a year, then that year is indefinite. That's the issue that I have. Nobody's trying to protect Ime Udoka, and certainly nobody is trying to exorcerate the woman involved. I'm talking about how things of this matter are usually handled from an HR perspective, from an organizational perspective. That is not consistent with what we have seen throughout the years. I'm not trying to attack anybody, and if anybody deserves to be attacked, it's Ime Udoka for putting himself in this position. To which Andrews responded, I appreciate that clarification, and I think that getting back to Molly Curum's initial question, my reaction to the press conference is the only thing that was made clear to me is that we are missing key pieces of information. But the thing is, you're missing key pieces of information, but you immediately went out to protect this woman without even having all of the information. Like, Malika, it sounds to me like she called in already with a bias. Like she was already ready to go in with a bias. Kiram asked what she was referring by that. Andrew said that if she had been at the press conference, her question would have been, you are not helping the women who you want to protect, that you are claiming the organization needs to look inward at with your business. Women need transparency. In the spirit of transparency, was there sexual harassment that you needed to address within your organization? At the press conference, Grusbeck sidestepped a direct question on if there was sexual harassment levied by Udoka, but called the coach's suspension well warranted and backed by substantial research and evidence and fact. So there's that part right there. That was the Ime Udoka Malika Andrews situation. But we got some more to discuss because it didn't stop there. So now that she has gone after Ime Udoka, and now Ime Udoka, he's at this point, he's gone, and now they're in search of a new coach. Before I go any further, let me acknowledge this super chat by DeMarcus. Shout out to DeMarcus for the 2. He says, do you think that Kendra is as bad as Malika Andrews? Who is Kendra? Who is Kendra? I need a last name. But now Malika Andrews is now that she can't go after Ime Udoka anymore, she's about to go after the new head coach. It says Malika Andrews is getting hate on Twitter for bringing up new Celtics coach arrest history. The Ime Udoka situation has everyone up in arms, and ESPN host Malika Andrews is back in the hot seat. Now, keep in mind, look at the dates. They weren't that far apart. Like, this article came out September 28, 2022. The one I just read came out 5 days before, and already she's back right in the swing of things. First, it was when she had a spat with Stephen A. over protecting the woman involved in the affair, and now it's because she brought up the past of Joe Mazzulla. Mazzulla, who is still currently the Boston's, it says he was the assistant coach, but he ended up being bumped up to head coach when they got rid of Ime Udoka. And by the way, Joe Mazzulla is still the head coach for Boston. Oh, her sister, Kendra. Oh, I don't know anything about her sister. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know nothing about her sister. Mazzulla is the Boston Celtics assistant coach. He's not a head coach that will be given the head coach duties while Udoka is suspended for the season. And while breaking the news to ESPN viewers, she spoke to Mazzulla's time as a basketball player at West Virginia University where he was arrested. Now, let me go ahead and actually pull up the video in which she said that. Now, listen to this.
3 seasons after spending the previous 3 seasons at Fairmount State. And he played for West Virginia between 2006 and 2011, and now could become the NBA's youngest head coach at 34 years old. And we'd be remiss not to also mention that Mazzulla was arrested twice at West Virginia, once in 2008 for underage drinking and aggravated assault. He pled guilty, paid a fine, and then again in 2009 for domestic battery after an incident at Morgantown Bar. The domestic battery case never went to trial. It was settled in August of 2009. He paid a $100 fine and court costs, plus had to do 40 hours of community service. Now, that was 13 years ago. He settled and paid both fines. So, Woj, why are the Celtics choosing him as the...
Y'all heard that, right? Now, what in the world did that have to do with you announcing him getting bumped up to be the head coach? And I caught that part too, John. Remiss. We'd be remiss not to mention back in 2009, he had this going on, and this year he had this going on. Why did you even bring that up? Again, this is why we pulling up the receipts. Why was that important to bring up? It wasn't. The guy isn't even warm into the position yet, and already you bringing up his background, and then going to look over to your colleague and ask, why did they pick him? Let me play that part again.
Years old.
She should have stopped right there. After reading the stats, she should have stopped right there. But then she goes on.
And we'd be remiss not to also mention.
That sounds like, I don't know. I don't know if that's someone at ESPN that did that, or if this is something she just decided to go. And the thing is, she could have, you can't tell me she didn't see the script before she got on the air and started reading stuff off. It's on the teleprompter. It's a script, which means she could have easily gone to them and said, this is not important to bring up. Why do we need to bring this up? It has nothing to do with this. But she went along with it. Why? Look at the title. Malika was just doing her job. And she does it well. And they know that. That's why they keep her around. Now let's get back into the article. It says bringing up someone's past is common practice when they get a position of power, but Twitter was still up in arms and reacted accordingly. So one person says, so if I have this right, Stephen A had an egregious take that ignored important info, got called on it by Malika Andrews and responded by essentially telling a woman to know her place as the subject was power dynamics in the workplace, and now is Andrews getting dragged? WTF. Someone else says Malika Andrews anytime a black man has an opinion on ESPN. It says, when I first noticed Malika Andrews' disrespect for NBA players who actually played the game, when you get Richard Jefferson heated that bad. I'm just kind of scrolling through. Someone says, Malika Andrews ain't it. Bring Rachel Nichols back. Andrews clearly has a problem with black men. We ain't the enemy. Someone else says, Streets is saying that Malika Andrews is Doja Cat that knows how to analyze a pick and roll offense. Someone else said, wow, Malika Andrews went from being resident darling of ESPN to resident B real quick. I do think she has issues with black men. Bringing up Joe Mazzulla's legal issues from 2008 is yellow journalism. She lost credibility with me when she did that. Someone else said Rachel Nichols after Malika Andrews got exposed after everybody came to her defense. And that's right, because a lot of people did come to her defense when her and Stephen A was going back and forth. And again, that was like a few days, maybe a week earlier. And the following week, she did this. And then everybody was like, yeah, she is everything that people are accusing her of. Someone else says, you know what's getting ugly for Malika Andrews online when you see people wishing they had Rachel Nichols back. And that is all of the article right there. So, yeah. And for many of you in this chat, this is probably the first time some of y'all are hearing about Malika Andrews. For some of you, this is your first time even seeing any of the stuff that I'm showing you. But I just have to let y'all be aware of who this chick is. That way, if you come across her again, then you know. Shout out to DeMarcus for the 2. He says Kendra Andrews and Malika. Okay, thanks for telling me. We figured it out. Now, I think it's because you didn't put her last name there. So that's why I didn't know, but thanks for the 2. But who is her sister? Someone important? Not that Malika's important, but is her sister on the same type of time? Because I don't know anything about her. I don't know anything about her sister. I'm gonna be honest with you. Oh, she is? Wow. I guess it runs in the family. That's unfortunate. Ozzy says she's a sideline reporter just like her sister used to be. And it says, King Shaw, remember when she tried to throw Jalen? Yeah, I remember that. I'm gonna see if I can pull that up. Because I don't think I have that, but that'll be important to throw into this since this is the topic of discussion. Now let's go ahead to here. Now we've out of 2022 and we're going into 2023. So now Stephen A. Smith and Malika Andrews are going back and forth again, almost exactly a year later. It says Stephen A. Smith, Malika Andrews would have been fired had she not talked Brandon Miller's past. Now, for those of you who are unaware, she basically did the same thing with Brandon Miller as she did with Joe Mazzulla. Almost in the same exact vein. Like, it's crazy. It says Stephen A. Smith recently defended Malika Andrews for bringing up Brandon Miller's controversial involvement to a fatal shooting in Tuscaloosa during her NBA draft coverage. So now he's defending her. Remember, they were going back and forth. Now he's defending. Now Stephen A's back on track. Smith, during a recent appearance on Podcast P with Paul George, said it was Andrews' responsibility to bring up the former Alabama's basketball star's past. Was it? Well, let's go ahead and see if we can find when she did that. Because that was very, in my opinion, that was very inappropriate. Let me see if I can find it, y'all. Just give me a second. Let me see if I can find that. Because I remember when she did that. I might have to go to X to find it, y'all. For some reason, I can't find this anywhere else. Where is it? And it was doing, I remember because it was during draft night when it happened. It was during draft night. Okay, that's not it. Oh, it's getting me that I can't find it. I might have to see if I can pull it up in an article of some sort. And maybe the video might be there. Okay, I think I found it, y'all. It's not the video, but it's an article. So here it is right here, June 23rd, 2023, and it's coming from AL.com, ESPN. ESPN, Malika Andrews slammed for mentioning Brandon Miller's case link at the NBA draft. So she brought this up during the draft night, a moment where everyone's there with their family and friends. It's supposed to be a great moment, and she brings this up. It says Malika Andrews was trending Thursday during ESPN's coverage of the NBA draft. Social media wasn't happy with her discussing Brandon Miller's connection to a particular type of case. On the same night, he was selected number 2 overall by the Charlotte Hornets. Miller is tied to a case that led to former Tide player Darius Miles and Michael Lynn Davis being indicted on Capital M charges. A police investigator testified in February that Miles texted Miller to bring him his firearm that night. Miller hasn't been charged with wrongdoing, though the ongoing case brought intense scrutiny on Miller in the Alabama program. Oh, here it is, y'all. Found it. Here it is, y'all. I told you, you search good enough, you will probably find it. Now listen to this. Listen to the nonsense she says. Okay, so that's just like a reaction video. Someone was reacting to it, but y'all heard it. Oh, you said it's muted? Hold on, y'all. All right, let me play it. Let me play it again.
his name did surface in court testimony.
Can y'all hear it now? Did y'all hear that part, that little part that I just played? Okay, let me rewind it back so y'all can hear it all over again.
Miller, his name did surface in court testimony involving a case where his former teammate and another man, they've been indicted for capital murder in the fatal shooting of 23-year-old Jamia Harris in January. The University of Alabama has described Miller as a cooperating witness. How is this factoring, if at all, into how teams are evaluating him?
So y'all just heard it. She did the same exact thing with Brandon Miller as she did with Joe Mazzulla. She brings up their past at a time when it's supposed to be a great moment for them. Joe Mazzulla becoming the head coach, well, the interim head coach at the time. He's the head coach now. Brandon Miller being the number 2 draft in the 2023 NBA draft. Then she goes into their past. And then she goes over to her colleagues to ask them, how do they feel about it? Wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah, they just kind of sat there kind of stone-faced like, Malika, what in the world are you doing? And she had no shame in saying that. Doc Spencer says, Torian hitting that keyboard like that old tax. Hey, listen, I took a keyboarding class when I was in high school. I know them home row keys. But yeah, she had no shame bringing that up. None. And shout out to Ozzy for the 10. He said, and she's lucky his mother didn't go over there and kick her. Yeah. A lot of people was like, oh, see, the way they would have flew across that desk. But that was her. That's what she said. I don't have to play it any further. It's only a 25-second clip, but that's what she said. Now, this part right here is the one that I think really, really had people really pissed with her. And that was the Adreian Payne situation. This one right here is probably the one that had everybody turn her into public enemy number 1. Let me go ahead and play it.
In the NBA with multiple teams. In 2018, he was waived by the Magic after he was named in a report by ESPN's Outside the Lines that he'd been involved in an alleged sexual assault at Michigan State in 2010. No charges were filed in that case. Prior to playing in the NBA.
Did y'all see that? Okay, so you see the headline, the byline right underneath her name, right? Ex-Michigan State star Adreian Payne dies in shooting, was 31 years old, 15th overall pick in 2014 NBA draft to the Atlanta Hawks. On the day of them announcing his passing, she decides to bring up an alleged SA that was not proven. So we see that this is the 3rd time that she did this. But she wants to tell people that we're being unfair and unkind to her. This is why she got the title of Sage Steele 2.0. I just gave you 3 examples. Actually, 4 examples. Exactly, Dell. But she didn't say that though. But she sure made sure to bring up his past. Joyce said, did she try to date him? Oh, absolutely not. Malika Andrew don't like black men. She married this white guy over at ESPN. A colleague. Go figure. Now, the last thing I want to show y'all, and I thought this was very interesting, and I wouldn't have known about this had I not did enough digging. Actually, I didn't have to dig far enough. It kind of fell into my lap when I was getting the other stuff. Is this book right here. Now, this book is called Coffee with Cream, released on January 31st, 2008. It only has 13 ratings. And the book was written by a woman named Karen E. Andrews. Karen E. Andrews is Malika Andrews' mother. Yes, B. Mick, that is her mother. Now let's go ahead and read a little bit of what it says. Being a mixed race child and not looking like your mom can be tough. This children's book emphasizes how a child can look different from their parent and still, quote, match in many important ways. I was picking up my oldest daughter from preschool. I read a list posted in the classroom that asked, what do you think is beautiful? Malika's Andrew was, I think my mama is beautiful. Later, I thanked her for the compliment. She asked if our skin color would match when she grew up. When she realized that we would never match, she was devastated. The earth just shook. Malika Andrews' earth just shook. She just found out that she's not going to look white like her mother. Oh my God, Malika is probably somewhere clutching her pearls. Now, this was a discussion that her mother had with her when she was in preschool. Malika Andrews is about to be 30. The reason why I ended off with this is because now it all makes sense. This woman is like Sarah Jane from Imitation of Life. If y'all never seen the movie Imitation of Life, y'all need to go watch it. The movie's going to stress you out. I'm giving y'all a disclaimer right now. The movie is going to stress you out. With her character especially. Let me read that again. When she realized that we would never match, she was devastated. This story tells of how I responded to her reaction, transforming a difficult moment into one of beauty. There you go. And then when you heard about when she said that she grew up in a predominantly white area in the Bay Area, that's all she was ever around. I swear the only time she probably saw anything of blackness was her dad, most likely. At a young age, she already internalized her self-hatred. At a very young age. And as we can see, as she got older and we saw videos of her, Malika Andrews could not even pass. Let me say that again. Malika Andrews couldn't even pass for white. So she probably figures, let me give my children a chance. How do I do this? Let me go marry this white guy. It doesn't matter who it is. But let me go marry this white dude. And let me show you a picture of her and her husband. This is Malika Andrews and her husband. I think they just got married a few months ago. See what I mean when I said she couldn't pass? That's her. That's Malika Andrews' natural color right there. even with the makeup on. That's her. Who's ready to come up? I've already said enough. There's the link. We got 285 people in here. If you haven't done so already, make sure y'all hit that like button. I would appreciate that.
Can you hear me, Torian?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I ain't hear you. Okay. Hello, Torian, everybody in the chat. I have some good experience with mixed people because, you know, I'm more on the millennial side, so people in the chat kind of bear with me. So, like, a lot of mixed kids, I always tell people, mixed kids, I would say 9.5, 10 out of 10 times, they need to be with black people because we accept mixed kids more than white people, more than Asian people, more than Mexican people. We really do. And for her, like, I had a classmate who was mixed. We claimed him regardless. He I think he's engaged to be with a black woman, if I'm not mistaken. So shout out to him. And his brother got married too to a black woman. So shout out to his brothers also. So like, it's like for her, she never really grew up around black people. That's the issue because you just as a mixed person, you just can't grow up around one set of people. Like for her, she grew up in California, and then I don't know. We don't truly really know her relationship with her father and her not just her father, but that other side of the family. So you have
we can already time to cut you off, but that's why I read that part at the end when she was saying about how beautiful her mother is and how she was devastated to know she wasn't going to grow up to look like her mother. So that told you right there she didn't want to look like her dad.
Yeah, and we don't, like I said, we don't know. Like I said again, we don't know her relationship with her father. That's something she needs to iron out with her father because whatever happened between her and her mama, that's something y'all all three of y'all need to work out. But you got to understand something, Malika, and everybody understands something. Don't sit up here and get mad at every black person for what you experienced growing up. That's not our fault. What you need to understand and what a lot of PC went well for her husband, he does okay work on ESPN. I'm not gonna knock him or nothing like that, but he ain't someone that's like, oh my God, he's special or stuff like that. I think he messed around with Kerry Champ, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think he's known for messing around with some of them women out there on ESPN. But anyway, for her, she needs to understand, hey, yes, I'm mixed, but you hating on half the people who probably would have accepted you more if you actually had some goddamn common sense. For you to diss black men, and it was a black man who basically made you in this world, it's kind of messed up. It's like me dissing a black woman for everything, but I have a black mom, a black sisters and aunts and grandma and all that stuff. It makes no sense. So for you to sit up here and act like you're better than everybody, nah, because what goes around comes around, and in about 5 years, she ain't gonna be on ESPN long. Cause you already see now she's not on there like you normally see. Cause I haven't seen her on clips like that during the NBA season. I don't pay her no mind. So her time is coming sooner than later. Best believe that. But her wake up call is gonna really come when she have her kids, because she gonna think, oh, my kid's gonna be on purely white. No, your kids may still have some black features, even though they may look white, and they still want to accept you. Because once they see you, and if you don't say nothing, and we didn't know who you were, we think you're a straight up black woman. But yeah, what goes around comes around, and I'm gonna land my plane there, Tori, and B1.
P1. Shout out to Waller for coming up. And to add on to that, that's another thing her and Sage still have in common, because I still remember that scathing letter that Sage still wrote to her. Well, it was a letter she wrote to her mother, who we know her mother is white, but it's the scathing part she put about her dad. If y'all didn't know, Sage Steele's dad was in the military, so they moved around a lot, but she tried to make it seem like her dad was a deadbeat. I'm like, Sage, your dad was in the military. Of course he wasn't always going to be there. He was active. But I remember that letter. I will never forget it. She had all these nice things to say about her mother, But the one thing she had to say about her dad was she might as well just said her dad wasn't shit. And now that I've read that part of that conversation that Malika Andrews had with her mother when she was in preschool, now I'm starting to see it again. And that's why I can see the parallels between both of them. But next up, we got Hurricane Nisi. What's going on?
Good afternoon, Tori, and good afternoon, family in the chat.
What's going on?
First of all, I want to know who this chick was, if not for you. But doing this live, this is my what's the word I'm looking for? Perception.
Mm-hmm.
How ironic that her mother name is Karen.
And it's spelled Karen, and it's spelled with a C. I've never seen Karen be spelled with a C.
I have, but how ironic. First of all, after that, you read that little bit from the mama's book. Mm-hmm. I said, bingo, that's what started the self-hating within Malika. And in Malika's mind, I'm just surmising, in Malika's mind, because of the way she's always going after black athletes' past, it makes me wonder, does she think her father did that to her mother? You gotta wonder. The vitriol that she spews to black athletes.
Right.
It is obvious that she hates black people, period. She hates being half black. She hates it. She despises it. But like Wallow said, she's going to get her wake-up call.
Oh, definitely. Oh, for sure. And that's why I arranged the live in the order that I did. I said I wanted to start off with the recent part in which she said, so people can see that, okay, for those of us who were aware of her, that's what we knew, that she was espousing a bunch of BS. Because those of us who were familiar with her knew her. She was telling that to a group of people that probably wasn't too familiar with her and think like, oh, you know, if I can throw myself into this victim mode, they'll take pity on me. But it's like, no, Malika, people have been on to you for the last couple of years. And the thing is, when she first came in, she was initially a breath of fresh air. But then she started to segue into the say still thing. And then that's when her true aura revealed itself. When she got comfortable, I should say.
Well, that's the thing about it. You can't fake the funk, but for so long, the true you gonna come out. We see it clearly with Fat Joe.
Oh.
Another subject. But anywho, being from West Virginia, I remember when I came home, once I was discharged from the military, I came back home in 93. Mm-hmm. And, you know, West Virginia being predominantly white, you know, when I came back home, I lived in the capital area, Charleston, and the surrounding areas. I know of many mixed race children in areas there no black people live. And I'm talking about these creeks and hollers. And one thing that I have noticed throughout the years, and I've been back home since 93, a lot of these mixed race children are predominantly with the white side of the family. And I could tell you one key thing that I noticed with all of them: white people can't do black children, mixed children's hair.
I think that was a commonality thing that a lot of people saw over the years. I guess, yeah, like definitely over the years, no matter where you was at.
Mm-hmm. And I remember this was back in the 90s when I was still going to church. I went to this one church for a short period of time. And this white couple had fostered 3 mixed race children, 1 boy, 2 girls. They came from a horrific background. And both them girls' hair was beyond matted. And it just, I can't even put it into words, Tori. Really, I can't.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it myself. I've seen it like out in public. I've seen it.
And it just breaks my heart. It does. It breaks my heart. And you know my stance about black parents. Excuse me, white parents and black children.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion only. Those who are mixed race, if you don't expose them to both sides, they grow up confused and hate one side over the other.
I agree.
It's a shame. And I'll leave with this last note. When my son was briefly married them 3 years, Lord, you know my heart. So I'm going to speak my truth. I prayed the whole time. I said, Jesus, Lord, don't let him make no children with that woman.
Your prayers was answered?
The Lord answered my prayer. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. And I'm gone.
All right. Shout out to Miss Nisi for coming up. And it's funny she says that because I actually came across a YouTube short on this page maybe last week where they were talking. It was this person who was biracial, and he was talking about the plates he gets when he goes over to the white side of his family when they go over there for like a holiday dinner. So I'm guessing they're talking about Christmas. And then he looked at it and then he compared it to what it was like when he gets a plate when he goes over to his black side. And it was funny because on the white side, he only had one plate, but he didn't finish the food. But on the black side, he had multiple plates and finished every last crumb on that plate every time he got some food. So I thought that was very interesting. All right, next up, we got Jonathan. What's going on?
What's going on, man? Just want to say that Malika's a lost soul. You know, this ain't the first time. You know, she's also double standard. You see how fast she went on one of them black athletes. I think I wasn't sure if it was John Morant or another or NFL black player, and it wasn't nothing serious of whatever crime he committed, because obviously he was able to he was allowed to play again. But Malika Andrews, you know, she was fast to get on that black player and say, oh, you know, he should be suspended, or he shouldn't even be allowed to play, or he should be in jail. But Josh Giddey, the white guy, who went to jail messing with a minor, she says nothing about that. Now she's married to a white man. Who's to say that her husband, and I'm not just allegedly, I'm not trying to say he would, but who's to say he wouldn't be messing, you know, with a minor, or heck, who's to know if he would mess with their own children? And I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? You just can't assume each, one demographic is worse than the other. The grass ain't always green on the other side. And then, but Malika's mind is way too screwed up. You know what I'm saying? She thinking her dad abandoned her when he was in the military. You know how hard it is to come see your children when you're in the military? Like,
it wasn't Malika's dad in the military. I was talking about Sage Steele. That was Sage Steele's story. That's why I said their story. That's why I said their stories are like similar. I don't know what Malika Andrews' dad did as a profession, but I know Sage Steele, her dad was in the military, and then I know that they moved around a lot. And I was referring to that letter that she had wrote to her mother. It was like a love letter to her mother, like typically people would do. But the part that she wrote in there about her dad was the scathing part, and it was only like one line out of I don't know how long the letter was, but it was a pretty lengthy letter. But the one time that she mentioned her dad, she had that to say, and then that's when I was completely turned off by Sage Steele, and rightfully so, because then everything after that, you can see we see how Sage be acting.
Yeah, I Sage Steele, she lost as well. Like doing all this for grift, doing all this for extra cash. At the end of the day, there's no 401k plan on that one. You know, once they retire, they're gonna end up lonely and miserable with nothing much going on, because they decided to go the other way and it didn't work out. Just like when an old dude who said on the video that my guy used him for the vote, and he's still claiming MAGA. You know, his family disowned him, and it's just a matter of time when he ends up by himself or be a nomad and got nothing going on for himself. Like you can't go to the other side and still expect something good to come run to us when you're down and out or you're in trouble. You know, you got to stay where you are, just be a nomad. It's no running back. You know, people just don't understand, you know, how the consequences of being a traitor and a sellout. So, Malika, if she finds out a hard way and her husband divorces her and even go far by taking the kids from her, then I guess she'll see that as a wake up call and when tries to see the error of her ways. But either way, it may be too late. So that's all I have, and I'm gonna let my plane right there.
All right,
B1.
appreciate you coming up. B1. Shout out to Jonathan for coming up. Next we got it's my bad. Neo Panther, what's going on? You muted.
Yeah, I put some headphones on. I was trying to see if I could hear better, but I guess I can't.
Okay.
But you can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I came up with an expression called intersexual tribalism. Have you ever heard me use it before?
You came up with quite a few things. You need to write up a whole encyclopedia.
Instagram, you know how racist Instagram is. They deleted my original page because I had way more followers and I had a lot of people following me, like Malcolm Jamal Warner and some different people I was rocking with, aka Nundrum, all those people. So you were one of my people, going back like maybe 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've known you before my kids were born, and my daughter is about to turn 8.
Nice.
But anyway, intersexual tribalism is when a Black person is more interested in being female than they are being Black.
Mm.
So inter is the relationship between two differing parties. Inter is when you have a relationship between two people in the same group. Like if there's interstate commerce between two different factions in North Carolina, they're both, under the same umbrella. If you have interstate commerce, you have North Carolina and maybe Arkansas having some kind of deal together or whatever. So when there's intersexual tribalism, I'm a man, F women. I'm a woman, F men. And white people have picked up on our tendency to go hard in the paint with this intersexual tribalism bullshit. So white women approached black women back in the day, back when those original feminists. I can't. Susan B. Anthony. That's what I was thinking about. Susan, all those white women approached Black women and said, "Your man is your enemy," and I want you to remember that. Your man is your enemy. And what white women do is they preach intersexual tribalism, but they practice white unity. Whenever they consider white people in trouble, they get on code with their men, and they're our enemy. But when it's convenient for them, now they're a part of the system. So they jump from one position to the next, and they, like I say, they'll take they'll choose whatever credit card has the most money on, or whatever debit card's got the most money on. In a certain situation, they might get more mileage out of sister, but other situations might get more mileage out of being a racist, just as much a racist as white men.
Mm-hmm.
And so I also wanted to tell you this story. I went and signed up for Navy Federal at the Navy Yard in DC, and there was a woman who looked just like Malika Andrews in there. And what she did was she looked around. She saw an Asian guy standing there, a white guy, and a bunch of different people. And she started raising her voice. "What are you doing here? Why are you trying to sign up for this? You have no business being here." Wow. I frowned at her and said, "My father and my brother both served in the military. So what are you talking about?" And then she raised such a stir. The manager, who was a Black woman, pulled me aside and finished setting up my account. When I left, I got ready to get something to eat at the Navy Yard, and she turned off our accounts. So I had to go back to the branch and have the Black woman put it back together. She was performing in front of people and trying to put me on blast. That was 2016. And there are a lot of these coon half-breeds running around. And I'm not saying all of the people who are biracial are sellouts, because a lot of biracials have stood on our side. But that's what I'm pointing out. That intersexual tribalism mixed with feminism and racism is not too far behind. They all have places they meet. They're all intersection. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Before my page got deleted, when I had a lot more followers, my original Instagram page, I put up a meme where it showed Hunger Games. It showed the white guy and it showed the white woman. The white woman camped out in Hunger Games waiting for the white guy to fall with the intentions of taking over and ruling exactly the same way he did. And she has a lot more weapons and she's a lot sneakier than the white man was. But that's pretty much all I had to say. I just wanted to touch on that because we keep falling for that intersexual tribalism and attacking our own troops. We got to knock that. We got to knock it out, knock it off.
Yeah, but I appreciate you coming and coming up and breaking that down, because that was a good breakdown, and a lot of people probably don't have any idea what that is. Like, I learned something new today with that one, and like I said, you be sending me some stuff in the breakdown and how you do, and I'm like, wow, the way this guy's mind work is crazy.
Yeah, I pick up on stuff like I had a lot of jewels that I lost from that original page. I had thousands of posts, and I had to try to figure out how to put them all back together. I got to go public in order for my account to grow again. I don't feel like doing it, having all these white supremacists commenting on my page.
Yeah.
But I wanted to spend more time getting involved with some of these some of these things that you do, because you're heavily you do some good work. And I need to set up my own page. I just haven't. My kids are driving me nuts. I got a lot going on. I work 7 days a week. I just don't have time right now.
Understandable.
It's going to get better in the next few months. My student loans got deleted by the Biden administration. That's the only good thing I can say about it.
Well, good. Well, congratulations.
Hey, I'll take it. I'm still didn't vote for him.
Hey, I mean, but the thing is, you got something out of the deal. You didn't have to. You had to go vote for him, but you got something out of the deal.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. I DM'd you about this, but you were probably busy. I've been talking to Ilyasa Shabazz, Malcolm's daughter, for the past 15 years, and I want to arrange for you to interview her. I wanted to say this in private, but I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's going to cause any trouble. But I got her information. I talked to her a few weeks ago. So if you want to interview her, I can arrange for that to happen.
Okay.
I've been talking to her since I started at Central, North Carolina Central. So if you're down, let a brother know.
Okay, I will.
But I'm gonna try to be a lot more visible, because I need to start getting on the right page. I've been busy.
And that's understandable.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I had to go downstairs because my kids were.
No problems. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. B1.
All right, shout out to Neo Panther for coming up. Definitely a wise brother, as many of y'all just saw right there. Some of you, this is probably our first time even hearing from him, but yeah, this guy's definitely he has a lot of knowledge stored. Trust me. And Neo Panther, you still here? I think somebody said that they wanted you to drop your link. Wait, I forgot who it was that said that. Oh, never mind. It was me. They was referring to me. My bad. They was asking me to throw the link back up. Who was that asked? Because I want to make sure that okay, I see it. Okay, I think it was Say It With Your Chest that asked for the link. Okay, next we got JDW. What's going on? JDW, if you are there, we cannot hear you because you are muted. I don't know if you stepped away or what have you. Okay, he might. I don't know if he stepped away or not, but we're going to bring JDW down, and we're going to bring 7 up. And also, by the way, 7, I appreciate the Cash App.
You're welcome. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So I've seen her on TV, but I wasn't aware of her. So I just wanted to say this. When people show us their true colors and they pick a side, stay on that side. Now, I don't have an issue with mixed people or any other people. However, these people keep telling us and showing us who they are. And that's all I wanted to say.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you, 7, for coming up and for the Cash App. I appreciate it. Okay, I think JDW is back. JDW, are you good now?
Yeah, can you hear me? Sorry about that.
I can hear you.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm a little bit under the weather. But again, shout out to you, shout out to the Black media, and shout out to everyone in the chat. Malika Andrews is a self-hating individual, and unfortunately, we have way too many mixed race people who mostly have Black fathers that are very self-hating. But some some of them, and I've noticed, are the most pro-black individuals you'll ever seen. You can see it in social media most of the damn time. But you know, she had we already know that the whole platform ESPN, in my opinion, has pretty much died off when the late great Stuart Scott passed away. For those who don't know who Stuart Scott was, he was a down to earth brother. He was non-biased. He was a great investigative journalist for ESPN. So
Definitely.
that most definitely. So, you know, unfortunately, we're stuck with Stephen A. Buck Dancing Smith, who pretty much does it for the money, and that's just the bottom line. Um, but but the whole notion with this mixed race diaspora, a lot of these mixed race people are very back and forth with their identity. They don't it's especially those outside of the states, particularly in Asia, because a lot of mixed race what's it called, Palladians, they love to identify themselves as Asian, but they are always reminded by the Asian diaspora that they're black. So, and when I based on my research, the the Blasian population is a very small population. Let's keep it real. But the most out of that population comes from Korea, out of all places. You would think it would be China, but it makes sense because in South Korea, it's the first Asian country to have a U.S. armed forces base. I didn't know that. I thought it was going to be in Japan, but it's actually in Korea, which is, but it does make sense because in my family, a lot of black males who served in the U.S. armed forces were stationed in Korea. Two of them, both my cousins, are married to a Korean woman and they have children. So, and I met with one of my cousin's daughters who identifies as Asian. She still identifies as Asian. She's 17 years old. She doesn't like to identify as black. So I'm thinking to myself, yo, what is her father doing? Because when I gotta keep it real, when black men have children with other groups of women, they do not like to bring their blackness into the forefront for the sake of their children's integrity and safety. They don't like to do this because we're seeing it in the clear, especially when it comes to Sage Steele and Malika Andrews. That self hate that mixed people and just coons have has to be better at a very young age. And unfortunately, black men who date out and marry out and have children, they don't do that. They did a piss poor job doing so. So with the Malika Andrews situation, a lot of black players in the league are not fucking with her, bro. I won't be surprised if she is out of the ESPN before the end of 2025. I mean, she is married, so.
Yeah, she married. She married one of the people that works over there. So
yeah, you know, and he's making big thing. He's not a reporter. He works for the tech over there, I believe. So, and plus he worked longer than she has. I think he's been there for like at least 6-7 years before Malika Andrews ever came to ESPN. So she's gonna be out. You know why? Because everybody's starting to see what she's all about. Same thing with Sage Steele. So it's common sense. Even the WNBA, the WNBA players are not fucking one. I didn't know this. Like he tried to do a whole interview segment with a couple of WNBA veterans, and it didn't fall through because they refused to speak to her. I did not know this. But again, the mixed race people, they got some issues, man. In my opinion, they can't be trusted. I'm a land.
I appreciate you, JDW, for coming up. Next up, we got Say It With Your Chest. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, bro? Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
All right. The first thing I want to start off with is Destruction of Black Civilizations by Dr. Chancellor Williams, I believe. That term amalgamation, you know, that's a powerful term that we don't use on it there. It just means the same things as mixing, but when you go read that book, he tells you about how the mixed children are used as weapons. And so we got to identify the evolution of these things. So it was a time when they had blackface, when they would dress up as blackface. So blackface has evolved into real people instead of it just being a costume where you can have mixed kids and then keep them away from the other side, but still raise them a certain way so that they'll be psychologically loyal and do all the bidding, and you won't be showing your hand. You know what I'm saying? You said the word parallel earlier. That's what made me jump in here, because I never heard no one else besides myself use the word parallel. So
yeah, when I was talking, and I was referring to her and Sage Steele, like their parallels are like very similar.
Exactly.
I mean, because like if you really break down Sage Steele and Malika Andrews, and you can see why they call Malika Sage 2.0. You have Sage Steele on one side and Malika on the other. They both have a white mother. They both have a black father, which seems, and they both sound like they really don't like their black side at all, as expressed when I was reading that part from her Malika Andrews' mother's book, where she was saying that I hope when I grow up that I look more like you. Notice she said I didn't want to look like my dad, or even a combination of the both of you. When Sage wrote that letter to her mother, she was praising her mother and throwing dirt on her dad, even for the little bit of time that she wrote that in there. They both worked for ESPN. They both have nothing but contempt for black male athletes. So it's like when they got rid of Sage and they brought Malika in, you just basically brought in a clone of her.
Right. And to add on to what you're saying, it's going to be different mixed kids. Like, so their behaviors is going to be different depending on which group of people they mix with. I'm trying to be polite on your channel. So you got the ones with the, I'm gonna say small hats, let's say that. They're going to be different than ones that would be English or French or Spanish. You know what I'm saying? Their behaviors, their techniques is going to be totally different. They're going to be used different. Like, you know, Drake, for instance, I believe Malika is the same. You understand what I'm saying? And this is a documented strategy. So if you was the it's a picture of in Australia of 3 generations, where you'll see the mom, you know, they had it in law to where they make sure that a mixed person had to marry and had children with I believe they were Scottish or just English, whatever. And so by the 3rd generation, the child would be all the way European again. Like, you wouldn't even see a feature. So that was all. And lastly, I want to say we got to put some legislation together so we ain't just saying what we want. Like, because I'm black, I can't pretend to be nothing else. I don't have an option. So we should be able to speak and dictate our direction of where we want our people to go, like any other people. So that's all I really had for today, man. I appreciate you letting me come up.
No problem. Thanks for coming.
What y'all say? I'm gonna land my plane.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming up. Next up, we have Skywalker. What's going on?
What's up, Taryan?
What's going on?
Nothing. Just chilling. You know who she reminds me of?
Who's that?
It starts with a C and ends with Owens.
Oh God. And it's crazy because I just posted up I don't know if you saw, but I posted up a short of her yesterday where she basically admitted that she has a Caribbean bias, and then she threw out Rihanna's name and Nicki Minaj's name. I said, well, thank you again, Candace. It seems like you just spewing your heart out everywhere this year, because remember a few months ago she was someone had asked her why does she only talk about black people, and she said because it was allowed and encouraged. And fast forward to now, she says she has a Caribbean bias. So if you are Caribbean, well, maybe to a certain extent. she will give you a pass no matter what you do. And if you're Black American, she is going to have nothing but vitriol for you. And I said, now it all makes sense. Now we don't
And
have to speculate.
by the
anymore.
way, my mother is actually Black American, by the way. And
Okay.
my father is Nigerian. So
okay.
So on the subject of Malika, I just wanted to say, when you mentioned that she had a white mother and a Black father, and she doesn't, how could you? I mean, honestly, how could you not like your own father?
Because it's because of the environment she grew up in. I don't know how long you were in the chat when I was going through everything. Malika said that when she was growing up, she grew up in the Bay Area, but she was in a predominantly white part of the Bay Area. So she was considered to be the minority. So she only gravitated to what she was around in her environment. And then you fast forward to what her mother said about in the book, and where Malika said that when I grow up, hopefully I look just like you. And her mother had to tell her there's a good chance that you won't look like me. And Malika said that she was devastated. And then that's why I pulled up the picture of her with her husband. That's how Malika Andrews looks. And that's why I said she could not pass. Malika Andrews could not pass. And the thing is, you couldn't even guess. But some people probably wouldn't even know Malika Andrews was mixed. And that probably is it has been eating at her. And the fact that she said she would have been devastated at a young age, and then you look at her now, she's almost 30, and then you look who she just married. So it's starting to all make sense. This is something that stuck with her all her life. She never got past that revelation of what her mother told her.
I can see it, because the way that she be hating on Black male athletes, it's like she echoes Candace Owens.
Oh yeah, they all pretty much say a lot of the same things. It's like an echo chamber. Like one says it, the rest say it. It's nothing new. It's just that now people are catching on to it and they're seeing the patterns. And see, the thing is, people probably wouldn't have came at Malika Andrews like that if she would have spread it out evenly to other athletes of other ethnic groups. But she only seemingly does that with Black male athletes. Because when Josh Giddey got caught up in his controversy, people immediately looked her way and was like, Malika, do you have anything to say about this? I remember it. The minute that happened, everybody was looking to see what she was going to say. And when she finally did say something, she looked like she was being held at, I don't want to say it, but she looked like she was being held hostage. Yeah, she looked like she was being held hostage, and she was reading in a monotone. She didn't have the same type of tone she did with the Black male athletes. And she only talked about it one time, and she didn't look over to her colleagues and ask what they think. As a matter of fact, when she did it and brought it up, they said, "Oh, we're about to go to a commercial break."
Probably because I noticed that she works with a whole bunch of men.
Yeah,
which is
she works around a lot. She works around a lot of PC men.
And my guess is that they try to keep cool around her, because they don't like her like that.
Yeah, I don't like and they usually always have her in the center. I noticed that too. She's never off to the side as far as placement goes at the table. She's usually in the center. Be that way when she says something like that and she looks over to the colleague and asks them what they think, she's right there. It doesn't like she's like trying to look down the table. But yeah, like someone said earlier, Malika Andrews is definitely a lost cause.
Yeah, I'm gonna land my plane there and go back to the chat.
All right, thanks for coming up. All right, shout out to Skywalker. Next, we got Chaos Rain. What's going on?
What's good, man? Torian, how's everything, man? Another rain in the rain. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful nowadays when we talk about the mulatto and the mulatto factor? And I think I dedicated a chapter on that. But in regards to now that it's been revealed with Malika Andrews, she'll keep her job because she's mixed. She's in beds with a lot of non-Black men, being throat goats and being a plaything. She'll have a job, You know how they are. They like the little mixed breeds around, so they could have a toy. And after a while, if they can find the next one for a replacement, they'll just discard her. You know, like anything else. That's how it goes. But it lets you know, Toria. And this question has to be asked. And I'm gonna ask the men personally. I'm not sure how many women you have on your page, but I'm asking men. Should these women that are a byproduct, a mulatto mixture, or just any general black woman, should they come back to black men after they have bedwedged themselves out and disrespect black men?
No.
And that's a good answer. And it makes you think that there has to be some parameters now that a lot of us guys start looking.
And honestly, they won't even try to come back. They probably won't even try to come back. I'm gonna be quite honest with you, because I don't know many of them that actually have done that. Like personally, I don't know any that actually have done that, because they, like you said, they already made their bed and they're lying in it. They have to pick a side. And once they've picked that side, they're going to have to stay over there, because, like we said, we're going over Malika Andrews right now. Like I told people before, this is like my third time talking about her this year. I already talked to her about it like 2 additional times, and ironically, the 2 times that I did talk about her, we were bringing up stuff in this live that I talked about her in those lives. So, yeah, she can stay right on over there. So if something happens with her and her husband or something like that, she can't run back over here. And I'll be quite honest with you, based on how she grew up and what I read as far as the discussion she had with her mother when she was in preschool, she probably was never on our side. And that's why somebody sent a super chat earlier and asked me in the chat about her sister Kendra, which I didn't even know she had a sister named Kendra. And I was like,
yes,
she like her
yes, I think she look the same. They both look identical.
And someone people was telling me in the chat that her sister is on that type of timing too. So I said, as you can see, the environment, what they grew up in, what they grew up around, it's obvious it's something that's being passed down between the both of them. So as far as I'm concerned, Malika Andrews, she can stay over there. In my opinion, she was never over here, and that's fine. I said the same thing about Candace. She was never with us. That's why when people say, "Oh, Candace can't come back," I always correct them and say, "Candace was never here." So what's she coming back to? Once they're done with her, that's why she keeps doing everything she can to stay over there, because she can't come back over here. Remember, she had that blackest week ever, quote unquote, at the end of Black History Month, and she only stayed there. She only stayed there for like 2 weeks. And then went right back before she got fired by Ben Shapiro.
But think about this, Torian. Let's be honest. This is the danger with our people right now, that there are too many people that have actually shown their hand, where they marry out, or they're saying in regards to pleasing these other groups of people for the best interest of them and not to us, is that there's always some person, particularly if they come back mostly to the male side, because we don't really put no standard. If she looks attractive, that will give them a pass to come back, depending on the man.
Let's put it like this. We don't. I'm not in the category of we. We can put them under the category of they. They won't. Let's put it like that.
Okay. That makes sense. And that's how I look at it, because when I look at the Black podcast she was a part of, I say, wait, hold on. Some of these dudes don't really have no standard at all, because think about it. They know her track record, especially Candace, and you give her an airwave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because, she's coming back.
And they know, and the thing is, people like Candace knows where to go, because she knows if she goes to talk to Charlemagne, or you Charlemagne and Joe Budden, because as far as I know, those were the only 2 people that she went to when she was quote unquote having her blackest week ever. She knows that she can go over there because it's safe. They're not going to.
You're right.
They're not. She's not going to go any place where people are going to
question
push back against her rhetoric, because that woman loves confrontation. She loves it, and she's not going to go to a place where someone's going to eclipse her. She's going to go where she can feel like, I'm beating them into submission. I have them exactly where I want them, and they're not going to completely overtake me, and I'm going to win the argument. I know she recently went on I don't know if I want to call it a podcast or not, but she had a discussion with Nick Cannon recently, and she was saying a whole bunch of nonsense. And I'm looking at it, and people, of course, her stands are going to say, "Oh, Candace Owens owned Nick Cannon, or Nick Cannon doesn't know what he's talking about, or Nick Cannon fumbled, or Nick Cannon fumbled this and fumbled that," because they're fans. Those are fans of her, so they already have a bias towards her, where they're going to support her no matter what she says.
Yeah, you're right, and I never figured that, because that's my line that I had to draw, and I've been seeing a lot of things lately for this year alone, and I'm thinking if the time wasn't then, it should be now. That there's too many women, right, that mixed or fully black, that are playing both sides too easily, and there's only a certain group of some of our people that's antagonist, and I'm at the point now, so you have to draw a line now. You got to, because you draw a line for black men that does this. So why is there past with certain women? Even talking about her, Malika Andrews, we obviously know she doesn't really care about black people generally, because she would go out of her way to talk about black men that's in sports, basketball, have a criminal past. Like, the whole world needs to know that. And they already label majority of us men as criminals through their systems and their propaganda, period. And you go out and the time I say, well, I would do my job. No, the white man tell you did that by your own free will. Cause think about this, Torrent, the ones that are black that the mix. Have you ever seen them go in on live air broadcast a criminal past for any athlete? I can't remember. I don't remember any of them. We would know.
You said a mixed black man?
No, a woman that's not mixed, that's not Malika Andrews, that went out on the air, live air, and said this person, is a conscious, but he used to did this, that, third, like Malika did. Any black woman, generally, the one that's not mixed, that go on and air a criminal past of a black man on live air.
Well, you just mentioned when you said Candace Owens. Remember that woman? Remember that woman did a whole so-called documentary about George Floyd that made no sense, and it had like no facts in it whatsoever. But she did a whole documentary about this dead black man, because she knows her audience would eat it up, and they did. They're still harping on, oh, he didn't die from a chokehold. It was from this, that, and the third.
I heard that dumb shit. Yeah. I mean, besides her, anybody else? Because I look at Candace Owens don't really identify as foundation Black American. She labels herself as, and she obviously I don't know what type of route she's talking about. Because if I go back and look at her bio, I mean, I don't see it. I can be wrong. Yeah.
Oh, somebody else. Actually, someone in the chat just gave a name, Oprah and Gayle King.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right.
And I forgot about Gayle King when Kobe had passed, and she tried.
Oh, you're right. Okay, all right.
She tried to get at Lisa Leslie to try to say something about Kobe, but Lisa didn't fall for it, and people came at Gayle King about it, and then Oprah tried to come at us about it. But yeah, I remember that. But hey, Chaos, I have one more person that I got to bring up.
Thank you. I'm hoping you do this and I'm moving forward in 2025. I know you don't do the open calls like obviously, but this is the closeout year, so I think going forward. And I think you're at maybe 70 now. I could be wrong where you're at. You should be hitting 100K by in this next year. Listen, you're gonna have content with Trump. I would take full advantage. Go hard as hell with this, bro. Go hard.
Appreciate it.
Take care. Peace.
Shout out to Chaos. Before I bring up the last person, shout out to Neo Panther again for the 5. He says, I forgot to mention the Jalen Rose thing where she live on TV accused him of putting his fingers in her arm. I remember that. And didn't Jalen Rose have to come out and do some kind of quote unquote apology about that? She almost cost that man his job. And shout out to W for the 20. She said, remember that a female record is called a so. This butter biscuit bimbo has taken too much of our time. It is time to shun these bums. I completely agree. But something tells me Malika going to do something again in 2025. She ain't learned the lesson. But the last person I'm bringing up, Xavier, what's going on?
Hey, Brother Tori, B1.
B1.
And B1 to the chat. This is probably the first time I've come in last, so new record for me. I actually missed the live because I was on the road, but I'll try to keep it brief. The whole thing about mixed people, I have a theory. I think most of these mixed people that are off code like that, a lot of them are raised by PC women,
and that's
and when they're raised,
and that's what I'm gathering as far as like again
yeah,
going back to Sage Steele and Malika Andrews. Not all of them, because remember the one I did on RG3, and that and because see he's actually he's of course married to his children's mother, and
yeah,
but it's the way that it was being framed that's like, if you could be I've always said this, if I could be a fly on the wall in these type of homes, what would I see? What would I hear?
I don't think we'd be ready for that.
Listen, I don't think I bump staying a day. I probably wouldn't be able to stay past 10 minutes.
Yeah, because I'm noticing a pattern here. Because I know mixed people, uh, and um, my okay, like personally, my sister is dating a mixed guy, and his dad is PC, but his mom is or is it the other way around? Yeah, his dad is PC, and then his mom is um, is black, and he owns, and he's more in tune with his black side than his white side. Because even talking to the guy, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't strike me as someone who's off code at all. Like he's down for whatever. But my point is, when you notice that naturally PC women will always side with PC men. And so when you leave your mixed children with them to raise them, naturally they're going to raise them in the way, like to see people that look like their biological fathers in a negative light. And it's really sad to see that. And a lot of times they tend not to even realize what they're doing is or that what they're doing is wrong until it's too late. So I don't know. It's really unfortunate that too many of them mixed race people tend to be so off code like this. And what's with demonizing black people? That seems like a sport. Black men, to be specific. That seems like a sport for them. Like they just go like especially the last person that talked about Kobe. That was really really really
Oh
disturbing
yeah,
for me. So I
yeah.
yeah.
You talking about those women that like the minute it might as well been the minute when he and his daughter and all those people passed in that helicopter crash, and they
Mhm.
immediately went back and talked about what happened allegedly years ago. I
Years
remember
ago,
that.
yeah.
Man, I remember when they said that, and they social media as a collective went in on them, because it's like, why would you even bring that up? And not only did this man lose his life, but so did his daughter and all those other people. It's like, my goodness, how disrespectful. And when I hear
Exactly.
that, and when you hear something like that, and you think about what Malika Andrews has been doing, over the last couple of years, can you imagine how she would have been if she was at ESPN at the time that happened? Because I don't think she was there yet. But can you
No, she wasn't.
imagine how she probably would have been, and what she would have said? Remember what we brought up about Gail King, and she tried to trick Lisa Leslie into saying something bad about Kobe, and people got on her about that.
Hmm. It's really unfortunate. And oh, last thing I would say, right? Um, Candace Owens, her karma is going to be really bad. I mean, if you believe in that sort of thing, I don't. I mean, Malika, I don't know enough about her to say she's like Candace, but Candace has been downright diabolical,
Oh yeah,
especially to especially to black.
has been since she first burst onto the scene.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of thing it's going to definitely come back, especially where you talk what she did to that poor man George Floyd, that
Yeah.
man that did absolutely nothing to her, and she just went out of her way to try and sully the man's name for no reason other than to buck dance for PC Daddy. their time is coming, and honestly, we're around long enough to see that, because it's looking like it's coming really soon. Anyways, I don't want to mess up anyone's night with all this with Candace. So I will say, enjoy the rest of the season, and be one to the family, and stay blessed, y'all. Be one.
Appreciate you, Xavier. Be one to you. And Xavier was the last person to come up and speak towards this topic. Shout out to each and every person that came and spoke. I actually didn't expect that many people to come up and talk to this, to be honest. I was expecting maybe no more than 5, but it was quite a few of you. But yep, shout out to each and every person that came and spoke. There will be a 10 a.m. excuse me, premiere video tomorrow. There is no live tomorrow, just the premiere video, but the announcement for it will of course go up at 4 p.m. so y'all will get a little taste of what tomorrow's videos are going to be a doozy. That's all I gotta say. I think the next time I'm gonna be going live will be on Tuesday, and I think I told y'all what it's going to be on. It's going to be about all this foolishness that's going on Twitter with Elon and ramen noodles, and it's a lot. So much, in fact, that I'm starting the live about 2 hours earlier than I usually will, because usually I have it at 6, but I'm starting it at 4. But that'll be on Tuesday. But y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Y'all will see the new video going up tomorrow at 10 a.m. Be safe and be one.